Hi, and welcome back to this Monday edition of Focal Point AF. I'll talk more polling data out today that's bad for the Democrats. Nationwide USA Today Pew Research Center poll, strongest tilt to Republican candidates at this point in a midterm year in at least 2 decades, including before partisan waves in 1994 and 2010 that swept the GOP into power. In other words, this poll, USA Today, Pew Research, these guys pulled to the left. They lean to the left. They're rooting for the left. They're saying their poll indicates that things are worse for the Democrats now than any time in the last 2 decades. Worse than they were before 1994 and the tsunami that swept Newt Gingrich and the House to power. Worse than they were in 2010 when the Republicans won 700 legislative seats nationwide, took control of the House of Representatives by more than 2-1, 65% to 30%. Americans say they want the president elected in 2016 to pursue different policies and programs than the Obama administration rather than similar ones. 65 to 30. They want something different. They want something new. They are repudiating the Obama administration and his policies by 2-1. In the 2014 elections, registered voters inclined to support the Republican candidate over the Democrat in their congressional district by 47 to 43. Now, that may not sound like much, but that is the biggest lead they've had in 20 years in the generic balloting. Back in 1994, when the GOP took control of the House and the Senate, Democrats had a 2-point advantage in the spring of that election year. Instead of being 4 points under, they were 2 points up, and they still lost in a landslide. 2010, when the Republicans would win back the House, again, that was a landslide, a tsunami. The two sides were even. So the fact that the Republicans are up by 4 points at this time in generic balloting, very, very bad news for the Democrats. And the Democrats still, speaking of millennials, the precious millennials, Democrats have a real problem with the younger millennials. The older millennials, 27, 29, they skew Democrat. There's an 18% advantage to the Democrats, but the younger millennials, 18 to 20-year-old, only 41% Democrat and 38% Republican. So this business about how we've lost the millennials, we can't ever get them back, they're gone, we've got to accept the inevitable, forget about it. There's only 41-38 advantage for Democrats among the 18 to 20-year-old millennials because they're watching what's happening and they're not seeing anything good for them in what's coming out of the Obama administration. Now, here is James Carville, clip number 8, reflecting on what these polls reveal. The specific poll that he's talking about is a poll that indicated by a 53 to 39 margin, voters prefer the GOP heading into 2014, and Obama's approval numbers being upside down, 41 disapproving, or 41 approving, 52 disapproving. Here's what Carville said about all that.
I saw that poll. I thought my day started out about as good as Donald Sterling's. To me, it wasn't too good. That was one way to ask the question. I think he asked it another way, and it was closer. Look, the poll was not good. I'm not one of these people that say, oh, it's, trash the poll or something like that. The poll was not good on a variety of fronts.
So the poll was not good on a variety of fronts. James Carville recognized, man, we are in big trouble. Now, speaking of the mainstream media, clip 9, this is Joe Klein, Time Magazine. This guy is a hardcore card-carrying member of the left, and he's talking on this program about where you get decent news today. Remember, this guy is a leftist. He is as liberal as you can possibly get, and listen to what he says about where he goes for news.
But I got to say that it is such an embarrassment to our profession that CNN has gone in the toilet the way it has. It really is. I miss being able to turn on a straight newscast, and it turns out the only place you can go to get one at 6 o'clock at night is Fox.
That's right. Yes.
It's true.
Don't mumble, folks. He's telling you truth. Special report by Bret Baier.
The other option is to go to MSNBC and see the Reverend Al Sharpton, who I still consider to be a major criminal. I mean, the guy gets a job. The guy can have a job on network TV, on an NBC cable network, and he still hasn't apologized for Tawana Brawley? Give me a break.
All right, so Joe Klein, card-carrying leftist, the only place to go for decent news is Fox. 888-589-8840. want to play some Ron Paul soundbites from 1997. I want to begin by going back to the campaign, clip number 7, President Obama, and listen to what he's talking about. We've referred to this soundbite before, but I want you to hear it. This is President Obama talking in 2008. Let's listen.
We cannot continue to rely only on our military in order to achieve the national security objectives that we've set. We've got to have a civilian national security force that's just as powerful, just as strong, just as well-funded.
Now, and that's what we saw at the Bundy Ranch, wasn't it? 120,000 bureaucrats now total are armed up. Library of Congress has people with guns on their staff. The Department of Education has got a SWAT team, and they've swatted homes. I mean, they've invaded homes in full SWAT gear as part of the Department of Education. 120,000 bureaucrats armed up. So when President Obama said we've got to have a civilian national security force just as powerful and just as strong and just as well-funded as the United States military, he wasn't fooling around. Now, I know a lot of you love Ron Paul, and there were a lot of you that were disappointed with me because there were issues on which I just could not agree with Ron Paul in 2012, and you gave me a hard time about it, and I got no problem with that. I'm a big boy. I can handle it. But here is Ron Paul from 1997. This guy was a prophet. This is Ron Paul, 1997. I want you to listen to what he has to say because I'm with Ron Paul on this one 100%. Let's grab clip A11. This is on the Constitution and what we were just talking about.
Under the Constitution, there was never meant to be a federal police force. Even an FBI limited only to investigations was not accepted until this century. Yet today, fueled by the federal government's misdirected war on drugs, radical environmentalism, and the aggressive behavior of the nanny state, we have witnessed the massive buildup of a virtual army of armed regulators prowling the states where they have no legal authority.
So armed regulators prowling the states where they have no legal authority. That's the BLM at the Bundy's Ranch. Here's clip number 2, A12.
In 1996 alone, at least 2,439 new federal cops were authorized to carry firearms. That takes the total up to nearly 60,000. These cops were not only in agencies like the FBI, but include the EPA, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, the Army Corps of Engineers. Even Bruce Babbitt wants to arm the Bureau of Land Management.
Ooh, wants to arm the Bureau of Land Management. That's 1997. That means one thing, they weren't armed in 1997. That showdown you had at the Bundy Ranch could not have happened because the BLM was unarmed in 1997. 60,000 bureaucrats with guns in 1997, according to Ron Paul. Today, that total is over 120,000. Next clip, A13.
It's ironic that the proliferation of guns in the hands of the bureaucrats is pushed by the anti-gun fanatics who hate the Second Amendment and would disarm every law-abiding American citizen. Yes, we need gun control. We need to disarm our bureaucrats, then abolish the agencies. If government bureaucrats like guns that much, let them seek work with the NRA.
That's great. He says we do need gun control, and I agree. We do need gun control. We got to get arms out of the hands of federal bureaucrats. Brilliant. All right, and then one last clip, A10. Let's listen.
The gun in the hands of law-abiding citizens serve to hold in check arrogant and aggressive government. Guns in the hands of the bureaucrats do the opposite. The founders of this country fully understood this fact.
All right, so that's Ron Paul, 1997. And I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I agree with every single solitary word that man said in that speech. Now, what was behind it is a war on drugs. I disagree with Ron Paul. He thinks we ought to legalize all drugs. I think that'd be a total mistake. You look at what's happening down in Colorado with pot. They got huge problems down there. Legalization is not the route to go. You got like 142 municipalities in Oregon said we don't want even medical marijuana dispensaries in our cities because they know it's a magnet for crime. They know that these medical marijuana dispensaries are just a front for basically illegal pot traffic. There's one story about, I have it in the stack here somewhere, but how Colombian drug money is flowing to medical marijuana dispensaries in California. Again, recreational pot is not legal in California, although it's not being enforced at all. but medical marijuana is legal. Well, who is behind these medical marijuana dispensaries? It's drug cartels from Colombia. And Colorado is finding the same thing. The drug cartels are trying to move in to all of the legal pot establishments in Colorado. And this is something that people have discovered where they've tried to legalize marijuana use. It becomes a magnet for criminal elements. It becomes a magnet for mob-type organizations. It becomes a magnet for drug cartels. And you think about the drug cartels in Colorado, they were operating there before everything was legalized. They were operating there. It was illegal. What they were doing was under the radar. It was black market. It was off the table. And they were making bank by breaking the law. Now that it's legal, you think the drug cartels are going to let themselves be aced out of that market? Not a chance in the world. So the odds are very strong that the drug cartels are going to wind up moving in on all of these legal marijuana shops, these legal pot shops, and they're going to wind up taking control of those mom and pop stores. It's all going to be run in time eventually. I think it's inevitable. It's all going to be run by drug cartels, probably from Mexico, maybe from Colombia or South America. Well, that's it for today. A lot we didn't get to today. We'll take another swing at it tomorrow. Here's a blessing for the rest of your day. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. Do not forget to bow low before God, stand tall before man, stand in the gap wherever God has placed you, and never forget, as the Supreme Court itself proved today by protecting invocations in Jesus' name, ladies and gentlemen, with God's help, we are in fact fighting a winnable war. See you tomorrow.